In the name of God, the one who helps you the most and the most merciful, I am continuing the investigation for the February 6th earthquake in Turkey and looking at all of the satellite imagery and identifying the surface fissure fractures from that event. So, as the investigation continues and more information is being put together, we're learning more and more about that night, and we've learned now that the earthquake's epicenter, which was here in غازانتيب, the earthquake's epicenter had a very strong intensity of movement. It was named the Mercalli intensity 12, and that intensity, the ground like shakes up and it becomes soft, and the ground can like sink, and like build even strong buildings don't stand a chance, and it breaks everything under the ground. And I mean, it's so terrible. Like the Mercalli intensity 12 is where fissures break open. That's when fissures break open. And I think that Mercalli intensity 10s and 11s, I think they don't open fissures like, I mean, these smaller intensity of earthquakes will not make fissures in the ground or on the surface, will not make fissures on the surface. So where you see fissures on the surface, I have to expect that at the moment those fissures were created, that was a very strong, like probably a 12 Mercalli intensity. Perhaps the smaller ones can do surface fractures, but finding those surface fissure fractures tells you a story of the violence inflicted on them. It's so essential to find those, to go and look at that scene. So, Mercalli intensity 12 in Gaziantep. And now I've learned, or we've found this, we've put together the information, and we see that there was a Mercalli intensity at the epicenter of 12, and simultaneously in another location 100 kilometers away. Here is the epicenter, Mercalli intensity 12, and here is Antakya. This is where simultaneously they felt a Mercalli intensity of 12. And in order to try to conceive of how energy was directed into this land and broke apart this heavy earth, so much violence and so much power focalized. So they are 100 kilometers apart. We're trying to understand what kind of force could move two areas 100 kilometers apart. And the first thing you would want to know is, well, is there a connection between those two places? And yes, there is a connection. There is a connection that there is this fault line that comes directly up through, and the geography conforms to that fault line. So they share this fault line here. This fault line here. well, this ridgeline here. And here is غازانتيب, and here is Antakya. So, as you can see, this is where the epicenter was. It was a little broken off the line that you see created by the geography. It's a little bit off the geographical formation here, offset from it. So, and this way is the East Anatolia fault system, and this way is the Dead Sea Transform fault system. And then this end of the formation, I guess, is held in distinction or held separate because the Dead Sea Transform comes down this way, or held in distinction. So wanted to see that there was a connection between those two cities that would make it that such a violent movement would occur there, moving like God knows how many trillion tons of earth moved by this power. And this is the data collected about the intensity of the earthquake. Let's go in. And so this is the epicenter. This is the epicenter of that first earthquake. And this is what happened. So epicenter occurred here, and all of these triangles are the machines that record how strong it is. So there's machines placed all through this area, and some of the machines felt it very strongly. If it's a red color, if it's white, it's not strong. If it's red, that's a 9. Here's a 10 plus. This is what we had there. So some of the instruments are recording that it's this strong, and some of them are recording that it's only this strong, an 8. And it's curious how there is a connection between Antakya here and غازانتيب, near غازانتيب here, and that if there was one force that was impacting two areas at once, 100 kilometers apart, then we can kind of see what that power looked like. You almost saw the face of the power. You can see the face of the power right here. And I mean these anomalous places here, where we don't have a strong reading, we have to determine the possible reasons that of the difference of the data. And we could expect that if they did put their machines for recording inside these mountains here, that would be a reason of why they didn't feel a very strong movement, and other machines did record the movement as very strong. Because these places here, these should, if this was impacted at once by one force at once, then we should see all of this with the same intensity. And we don't. We see it that there's broken here. Maybe the seismometers were off the scale. Maybe the seismometers broke. Maybe the machines broke. And that's why they don't, well, they can't be broke because it's not white. They did record that it was at least like 8. So maybe they're in the mountains or for some other reason. That's important. So these black lines here is the separation of the countries. This is Syria. And this is Turkey. And then they've got another black line here representing the fault. And then this is the area that was, I mean, even here at these red places. So those are Mercalli intensity 12s, at least 10 or 11 and 12. So it is good. Imagine the possibilities of what may have happened in this case. Either one force directly hit all of this area here and focalized to this area, or some kind of energy was sent down through the whole thing, and that it didn't lose momentum. And that's so incredible. It's so incredible. Imagine digging a hole in the ground, of how much energy it takes to dig a hole in the ground. And then how can you expect that you're going to move trillion, bazillion tons and tons of earth, that you're going to, the energy could be shot, and that it would be so strong that it would maintain a Mercalli intensity down the fault. I mean, that's incredible to me. And I mean, it's hard to think that that could be a kinetic movement. So there is the realm of possibility of electrical movement. Maybe it was an electrical movement, and then the seismometers, that maybe that could tip the seismometers in this way as well. And so finding those surface fissure fractures is very important, whether electrical or kinetic, and electrical kinetic, or however which thing happened, that we want to go down in there, and we want to look at what happened to them. And so I wanted to search this area here thoroughly. We start with Antakya, because they did explicitly state. So the epicenter was west-northwest of غازانتيب, and the earthquake had that intensity around the epicenter and in Antakya. So I want to go and look at Antakya and see what happened to them. And when you look, and when you understand that here was the epicenter, and here was Mercalli intensity 12 as well, and that these felt like 10s and 11s of intensity, that this Mercalli, now when we first heard of the event, here is Syria here, and here's some very badly hurt towns. These are Genderis and Afrin, and there was several other small cities in here that were just destroyed. And when you first understand the epicenter being near Gaziantep, and you're saying I'm in Jandaris. How could this be so strong here? It didn't make sense. Here is Jandaris and Afrin, and there is Gaziantep. It was hard to feel that. Why are we being hurt? And then when you factor in the Mercalli intensity, the anomalous Antakya, Mercalli intensity 12, and you see, oh, now I see why. Now I understand that I was very near a very, very incredible movement. So that Antakya, the events of Antakya are important for Syria. And I've come down to this area of Antakya in the all the information gathered from Wikipedia into Wikipedia. They did mention that here's Antakya, that their airport had experienced a very a big damage. The airport did. So I went there. They even described exactly where it was on the airport plane. And when I went down in there, I found that it's all around it. There are surface fissure fractures. And they're not like a long, fracture like a fault line. They're more like smashes. And we'll see it here. Or tearing, just tearing. Like this part here, it just looks like it was. And with, it's not one thunderbolt fracture here. It's a crushing. And so I have found images in Syria and Turkey for 2023, March of 2023, and I was so pleased. And it's our right. That's our right. That belongs to us. And I have one here from this. A satellite image is from February 15th, 2023. And I'm thankful that thank God that we get at least February 15th, 2023. This puts us a week after the event. So we have proof of and we have evidence now of exactly how they were hurt. So you can see it here. Now you see that there's incredible discoloration here. I'm still looking at imagery from February 15, 2023. Now, because it's an airport, is probably connected to the reason of why the imagery is public. And that is right in front of Antakya. The Mercalli intensity of 12 happened here. There's mountains here and mountains here. This is a depression. If anything happened in this area of Antakya, this whole valley here between the mountains would have been just shooken up. And it would have broke so easily because there's these rigid mountains on either side of her. And here is Jandaris. Here's the airport where all those cracks are. And here is our precious Jandaris, and Syria's right here. So I have traversed this way, and I am waiting to get better satellite images. All right. So one thing I see about this land is that there's a great discoloration here. In all of this, you can see it. It's like this black discoloration. It's some kind of like maybe viscous or watery or saturation, or because the impact of an earthquake, it's not going to cause discoloration. There will be factors inside the ground like liquid and solid, and these materials, they're going to change the landscape. So here I am at the top of the airport, and I'm gonna travel now. I see this line of distinction here on the map, so I can only assume that once I go east of this airport, that I'm gonna get a different like satellite imagery database from a different year. So let's go this way and see what we get. Looks like I got a put ourselves in this area here. We got anything? I want to know the year of this imagery. Well, it's not entirely necessary to even wait for the date to load on there, because here we go. There's a new set. We're going east. We're going east. Here's a new set. And I haven't thoroughly searched this area, but I don't see surface fissure fractures or any distinction. And then here we are. So this discoloration here is because the images are not from the same year. You'll see that. It's not because it was taken on a cloudy day. I found 2022, 2019, 2018. And I mean, it's pretty bad. It just keeps going with the whole chopping out sectors of the new satellite imagery. They probably classified those, and now they're a national security archive or something. I mean, I find that preposterous. I mean, if only all the people in the world spoke the same language, we wouldn't be having it. We wouldn't be having this classified nonsense. Oh, hell no. And whoops, I didn't want to go that far out. So where's my Antakya? There we are. Oh yeah, now I remember. So we tried to put any kind of industrial operation. On the map. So here we are. Here's Antakya. And I'm starting to plot out any kind of industrial operations, especially related to power generation or resource extraction, so we know the kind of factors that could be in play here. And I got there's a couple quarries here. Here's Antakya, so on the backside of Antakya there's a couple quarries here. And here's Antakya, and here's our airport where we were here. We were seeing just chop doctored satellite database. And we were coming up towards this way to see this valley. And there is a quarry here on the other end. So the important thing is just to continue to go ahead and find fractures, find industrial operations, and wait for more information. And I feel that the information will absolutely continue to come. And may God give all the best to all of the families of those 60,000 people, and not only that more than 100,000 people have been wounded and may even be they lost part of their lives that day. So may God help us.